You read the title of the video and the caption on the thumbnail. So, without any further ado, let's just jump into it. Consider subscribing to our channel. It's free and helps us a ton. Thanks. One of the most insane stats was circulating everywhere last week. Erling Haaland, who had scored 5 goals from 4 Premier League games before the game at Arsenal, had his worst start in the Premier League since coming to Manchester City. Can you believe that? Since coming to the Premier League, he hadn't scored less than 6 goals in the first 4 games, and last season he had scored 9 in 4. This is not to say 5 goals in 4 games is bad, far from it. It just shows the freak of nature Erling Haaland is. Since coming to the Premier League, he has scored 93 goals in just 103 appearances. That's not all. He has scored 133 goals in just 153 appearances for Manchester City across all competitions. All of this in quote-unquote the most difficult league on the planet. And sometimes you wonder how good Erling Haaland really is. And how much better can he become? Well, let's delve into it. Even before Erling Haaland showed up on the English shores, he was considered one of the best strikers in all of football. The rate at which he was scoring was baffling even for an elite striker. Very few in the history of the game could claim to outpace him in terms of scoring goals. Some of the most elite strikers would struggle to match up to his scoring rate. Just to give you an idea, since he moved to RB Salzburg, he has scored 248 goals in 269 appearances across all competitions. And these are just club competitions. He scores boatloads for his country as well. That is ridiculous consistency. We have an entire video on Erling Haaland where we look at his history, so do check it out here. But for the sake of this video, it suffices to say he was prolific in Germany, Austria, and even in his native land Norway before coming to the Premier League. He scored 29 goals in 27 appearances for Salzburg and 86 goals in 89 appearances for Borussia Dortmund across all competitions and became one of the most sought after forwards in the world, right beside some of the biggest names in modern day football like Mbappe. It came as no surprise when clubs like Real Madrid were linked with Haaland. Yet, in a move that should not feel too surprising, shocked the world when the club that landed Haaland in the summer of 2022 was Manchester City. By just the look of it, Erling Haaland does not fit the Manchester City striker mold. A tall, traditional number 9 doesn't fit a Guardiola striker profile that demands all-round capabilities from their strikers. From the outside, despite his prolific scoring abilities, Haaland was merely seen as a finisher. City rarely played with a traditional finisher. City and Guardiola's whole thing was having a team of presumed midfielders, players who are good on the ball, have technical abilities to the hilt, can maneuver ball in small pockets of space, have good link-up and build-up play, etc. In fact, City played a whole season without a striker after Aguero left, and even then ended up winning the Premier League playing false nines and such. So, while City were actively looking for a striker so that they didn't have to rotate their attacking midfielders and wide forwards in the number 9 position, plus needing an assured goal scorer, Haaland just did not feel like the profile that would fit this City team. And yet, here we are. So, what makes Haaland so good? Simply put, he always had all the attributes of a complete striker. Even before he came to Manchester City, he was an elite finisher. But finishing is only one part of a striker's job, even if it is the most important part. But he was equally good at clever movement and positioning. At Dortmund, he would come deep to receive the ball and help in the build-up before running off his defender and get into goal-scoring positions. Not only that, his off-the-ball movement was always elite. The pace at which Haaland moves off the ball causes opponents real problems. His height and build allow him to make long strides that aids his sprint speed, which means he usually would outpace and outmuscle a lot of defenders. However, having these attributes mean nothing if the player isn't willing to use them. And that's what makes Haaland so unique. He puts his attributes to good use, willing to make runs and get into duels with defender, even bullying them off the ball or off his back if need be. In a low block, his movements are more subtle, always looking for space in small pockets. He uses quick, precise movements as he moves towards the goal. The moment he notices a teammate might pick him out, he adjusts his running trajectory and accelerates into the available space, giving the defender little chance to react. This served him well throughout his Salzburg and Dortmund career. Despite everything he accomplished at Salzburg and Dortmund, there were doubters, which was odd because everyone knew the quality Haaland possessed. Yet, there were people who thought he'd fail in the Premier League. Added to the fact that the forwards who came from the Bundesliga usually found it hard in the Premier League, and the track record somewhat proved it. From Timo Werner to Sebastian Haller to Christian Pulisic to Kai Havertz. A famous football content creator even went as far as to say that Haaland would score only 15 goals in his debut season for City. Was that going to be the fate for Haaland? The Community Shield further sowed doubt when Haaland failed to score in a 3-1 loss to Liverpool. The questions kept swirling. Was he really going to struggle like every other striker that came from the Bundesliga? Well, Haaland soon shattered every such illusion. Haaland debuted in the Premier League with a brace against West Ham and did not look back. By his 9th Premier League match, he had already scored 3 hat-tricks, including a famous one in the Manchester derby at the Etihad. And while his scoring form tapered a bit towards the end of the season, he still shattered the Premier League scoring record by scoring 36 goals in 35 appearances, going past Mohamed Salah's record of 32 goals. That wasn't all. He scored 12 goals in 11 Champions League appearances and finished the season with a whopping 52 goals in just 53 appearances across all competitions. He finished the Champions League as the top scorer, only the second player to do it twice behind Messi before the age of 23. While he shattered all forms of individual records, he was instrumental in Manchester City winning their first ever Champions League trophy and helped City become only the second English club to win the Continental treble. Needless to say, he won the Premier League Golden Boot Award as well as the UEFA Men's Player of the Year Award. He was one of the strongest candidates to win the Ballon d'Or in 2023, eventually finishing second in the voting behind Lionel Messi. It was such a monumental season that there was no way Haaland was going to be able to keep up like this. And yet, he did. He continued his elite form in the 2023-24 season. Despite suffering from an injury mid-season, Haaland finished the season with 38 goals from 45 appearances across all competitions, including 27 goals in just 31 Premier League games. Haaland won the Premier League Golden Boot Award for the second season running. He helped City win their 4th consecutive Premier League title and had become one of the most integral part of Guardiola's squad. Yet, despite everything he was doing, the doubts about how well he can fit in a team that thrives on possession lingered because of him being largely uninvolved outside of in front of the goal. There were matches where he would hardly get a touch on the ball. It did not matter because he was scoring a lot, but he wasn't involved too much in the build-up, and it meant in matches where he did not score, he was pretty anonymous. In short, if he wasn't scoring, he wasn't doing much. And it all came to head in the next season where City's form collectively dipped. Haaland began the 2024-25 season in hot form, scoring 10 goals in the first 5 Premier League games, but then the injury bug bit Man City in such a huge way that City's performances and form fell off a cliff, and so did Haaland's. There was a stretch of 13 Premier League games from 28th September during which he only scored 3 goals while City barely won a match, maybe the driest spell of his career. He finished the season with 34 goals in 48 appearances across all competitions, of which 22 goals came in the Premier League in 31 appearances. He himself spent a considerable amount of time on the sidelines due to an injury that also affected his form. And in all that, it showed the boon and the bane of a Haaland in a Guardiola team. Even in his worst season, he scored boatloads of goals. Yet, his effectiveness in a Guardiola system kept being questioned. The last season also showed that without service, Haaland may find it difficult to score, and with Kevin De Bruyne leaving, it became a question who that service provider will be, with Haaland himself not being that big a part of the build-up play. However, it seems there is yet another shift in Haaland's use in the current Guardiola system. Since the FIFA Club World Cup, it seems Haaland is now getting more efficient and involved in the build-up play. Not only that, his defensive game seems to have improved a lot. His performance against Manchester United in the derby was phenomenal, showing his defensive and offensive abilities in spades. While his goal scoring remains as elite as ever, it seems a new dimension has been added to his play. His link-up play is better, he's becoming a better provider, and his press and defending seemingly have all improved. The result? He's already scored 9 goals in 7 games across all competitions, 8 of those coming in just 6 games in the Premier League. The most staggering stat is he has won almost 86% of his aerial duels thus far, better than some of the designated defenders. He's clearing more balls in his own defensive half and recovering loose balls and winning possession more often for his team. Also, if the glimpses of form that Foden has shown since returning to the starting lineup, it seems he could be the cheap provider to Haaland. Now, this could just be early season and maybe everything would return to as it was last season, but so far Haaland is way more involved everywhere on the pitch, more than the raw numbers could ever suggest. And that's a scary proposition. Haaland has always been a freak as a striker, yet it seems there is more to this scary monster, and if we can keep this up, we are in for some tasty times ahead. Thank you for watching. Like if you liked it, share if you found it worthy, and subscribe for more content like this. This is Salty Football.